a new one. So what we got here is I went back over here and I popped me a chalk line. I got my measurement where I want it. I popped me a straight line. That's just give me a line, so all my holes is gonna be in a straight line. And you can do it with whatever you want to. You can use a chalk line, you can use a laser, or you can use a masking tape, whatever you want to do to get a straight line. And I came through here and I just figured up my measurements, what I wanted them to be. And I came out that I'm gonna put my bolts every 5.5 inches. So I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm gonna have 17 bolts total in just this one cap. So I got to drill 17 holes. Each one of them's got to be perfectly in line. I got to weld a nut on the back side, and it's got to be perfectly in line. So that's why I went back and tack welded all my stuff, because there's no way, if you got a clamp on this side and you drill a hole, bam, 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 you flip it over, you got a clamp on the other side, something's gonna move a little bit. It don't have to move much, it's gonna move a little bit. So when you take it back apart and you put all your nuts on there and you tighten your bolts up, when you weld that nut on the back, that nut's not gonna move anymore. So when you get ready to put this piece back on there, all of them won't line up. You'll have some of them that'll line up, but there's guarantee you there's gonna be 1, 2, or 3 or more that is off just a little bit that won't line up. And you can do 1 or 2 things. You can come back and wall your holes out bigger where you got some play in it, and maybe your washer cover it up, or you can do it right to start with and eliminate all that. So the problem I have with these little tiny drill bits, and they make them like that so you don't snap them off. It's on purpose, is they make these little tiny drill bits, they're just round. And a lot of times, you know, the chuck in these little battery operated drills, they'll slip on these round edges here. They don't have anything to grab, they'll just start turning. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a sander and I'm gonna come on one side and I'm gonna just flatten one side a little bit. That way it don't move in my drill. Now I could snap it. That's why they let them move. So if they happen to grab, they got a little bit of, you know, slip where it won't snap your drill bit. But I got a couple of these small drill bits. I don't feel like aggravating with, keep messing with that drill chuck. I got to drill all these holes, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna flatten me one side there about 3/4 of an inch, and I'm gonna just flatten it down some. It don't take much, just a little bit. I'm just gonna flatten that edge just a little bit where it ain't perfect round. And if it ain't perfect round, it can't slip in your drill. And what we drilling through here is basically, it's almost a 1/4 inch. So it's 2 plates and put together, you would almost be a 1/4 inch. So I'm just gonna go here and start. I ain't gonna try to drill them all the way through. I may just go ahead and drill them all the way through as I go, instead of making a pilot hole. But I want to be as close to the center of that chalk line as I can. If it's off a hair, if you use a little teeny drill bit to start with, instead of, you know, just, let me see that 1/4 inch bit there. If you use a little teeny drill bit like this here to start with to make that pilot hole instead of a big 1/4 inch bit, if that 1/4 inch bit wobbles a little bit, it's gonna put you more off center. So a little teeny bit with your pilot hole to start with will always get you closer to the center. With an 1/8 inch drill bit, and they're pretty well dead on the center of that chalk line. So what I'm gonna do now is just ream them out with the size hole I need, which is actually a 1/4 inch. You don't want to go no bigger than whatever your bolt is. That way you know exactly. See, I can take this plate off once I got my holes drilled. If I don't go no bigger than my bolt, I know exactly where my bolt's gonna go. I'm not gonna have a lot of slop in there. So when I take it off and I run it tight and flip it over, I can tack weld my nut and it'll be right. If you've got a bigger hole in your bolt, when you tighten that bolt up, that bolt may be slid to the right, it may be slid up or down just a couple thousandths of an inch, or 1/16, and it's gonna throw all your bolts off. It won't work. I don't get in a hurry when I start with this big bit. I let it go ahead and get down in the center and go ahead and wallow it out, because even though you got a pilot hole, if you get in a hurry, that bit can wallow to the side a little bit and get out. So just take your time, hold it straight as you can, and just let it wallow itself out, like it reamed the hole down in there. Once it gets the outside of that metal cut down, it's going to go straight through, as long as you're holding your drills pretty straight. And that's what we're looking for. When it's all said and done, this is the bolt that's going to go in the hole. So 1/4 inch bolt, 1/4 inch hole, no slop. It fits tight. It's a tight fit. It fits tight down in there. I don't have a whole lot of slop sideways. So that's the goal we're shooting for. I'll go back, fit all these holes out, and we'll move on. Okay, we got 17 holes, 1/4 inch, drilled perfectly in line. Front plate, back plate, everything's perfect. It's a straight in line. Each bolt's gonna be straight in line, same distance, center to center, and it's perfect in line with the second plate. So we're gonna flip it over. We're gonna do the other side, same way. We got us a measurement that I've wrote down already. When the camera was off, I came back and measured my bolt where I marked my marks, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And you can pull from either end. A lot of times you're gonna be close, but if you pull from the same end, your bolts is gonna be exact. So we're gonna use this as a top down here, and we're gonna just pull the same measurements as what we got on the other side, center to center. We got it tack welded together, so there's no way it can move. There's no chance of it moving. When we flip it over, we bounce it around. As long as those wheels don't break while we flip it over, there's no chance of it moving anywhere. All right, so I went back. I got my same measurements on this other side. I got them marked exactly where I want them at. The dots may be off a little bit off the center of the chalk line, but I know as far as up and down, I can move my drill bit over to the chalk line as I'm drilling them if I need to. So we're gonna go through here and I'm gonna drill these 17 holes with this pilot bit one more time, just like I did the other one. So that's 17 more holes. The small bit where I took the little sanding wheel and flattened that one side out, allowed me to drill those holes a whole lot faster. And with less aggravation from that bit trying to slip or not spin the same RPM as the drill. So that little tip right there can help you save you some aggravation. So we're just gonna go back here, same thing, we're just gonna turn them into a 1/4 inch hole. All right, so we got 34 holes. We got drilled. Each one of them, when I take this plate off, when I weld my nut back there, should line right back up. We want to make us an identifying mark at the top up here, so when we do get it all painted up, that we don't take this plate and somehow turn it around and flip it upside down and have to aggravate with them like that. We want to know that both our pieces are the top. See, this where I got it marked the top. Once I paint it or whatever I do to it, this little mark here is going to be gone. So I'm going to go back on the inside, and I'm going to take the little small drill bit, and I'm just going to wallow a couple little holes, not all the way through, but just identify a mark so I know that this is the top of this piece and this is the top of this piece. So I don't be confused when I get it all painted and something gets flipped upside down and I'm out there fighting with bolts, trying to figure out, you know, why come it ain't wanting to fit. So you always need to identify certain stuff to help you later on down the road. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to just come right here. I'm going to just make me a little mark. I can't get it to drill right. Well, maybe I'll wait till I take them apart where I can drill it straight. I can't get my drill in there right, and it's wanting to wobble out. So I'll wait till I cut them apart and I'll flip them over. I'll make me a dot or 2 dots here and 2 dots here, and that way I'll know exactly when I pick it up, when it's a finished product, what goes with it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my grinding wheel, my cut off wheel, and I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna cut each one of these little spot welds loose where I can take it apart. And that's why you don't have to get crazy trying to put it together like it's holding some kind of structure or something. All you're doing is keeping it from moving. It don't take much. The more you put on, the more you got to take off. If y'all professional welders out there that do it for a living every day, I'm not a professional welder. I do what I have to do. I do what I need to do. I know how to weld good enough to get what I need to get done. So if I was out there migging and tigging and sticking all day long, it would be a different story. I would be at the top of the game. Because whatever it is I'm doing every day, all day long, I learn it like that, the back of my hand. This stuff right here, this welding and stuff, this is stuff, you know, I just do on the side when I need to do it. I can do all different type of trades. I've done all different type of trades over, you know, ever since I was 15 years old. And I'm what, 48 now, so that's what, 30, 33, yeah, so 33 years. And when I say 33 years, I'm not talking about 33 years, I get up, I piddle around here or there. I'm talking about I was addicted to working for up until, you know, just a couple of years ago. I was a workaholic, and that's all I did from sun up to sundown is just work. And if I weren't working, I was thinking about working or how I could do something better. And I did it for decades and decades and decades. So just now, you know, I got a little bit older that I've figured out how to, you know, kind of break away from it every once in a while and kind of enjoy, you know, some different stuff. But that's pretty much it. in the middle when we're cutting it off. I just want to get it to move. If I go there and dig all in the middle, I'm just creating work that I got to come back and fix. So you just want to put what you need, no more. Okay, got it loose. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna grind those little spot welds off of there and go ahead and get them flat, because they'll end up cutting you if you don't. There's those sharp edges on there, and if you don't go ahead and take care of it now, it'll come back and it'll get you when you ain't looking. And they can be pretty nasty on you too. We'll see what this little sanding wheel will do. If it'll cut it, if not, we'll move to something else. I'm gonna grab a regular little sander, palm sander, and I'm gonna knock that rough stuff off of the back side of them holes where I drilled those holes at. So give me a second, let me get my sander. Remember when I said I was going to come back and I was going to make me a mark? So I could tell right here this is my top without even looking at my mark, because that's where I had my drill bit. So I'm going to come right here. And I'm going to just make me a mark. Not going to drill all the way through it, but I'll make me a couple marks. And I know this is the top. So even if I paint it, even if I put some type of coating on it, even if I put some kind of thick coating on it, I'm going to be able to see my little indentation marks there when I'm done. And that's what I want. I know this is the top. I'm just going to come here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just put me a couple marks on it. And I'll go a little deeper than just barely scratching it, because I'm kind of figuring I may put some of this bed coating liner on here, and this bed coating liner is thicker. So if I just go there and scratch it or make a little scratch like this when I put the liner on there, if I go that route, it's going to cover it up. I ain't going to be able to see it. So go a little deeper. All right, we put this sleeve on. And it's cloudy out here right now, and it seems to do it more, I notice, when it's cloudy. But if you're messing with a welder, you know, in the evening or in the early morning, or when it's a cloudy day and you got nothing on your arms here, that welder will burn you. You see, I'm playing with it a little bit yesterday, and I didn't weld that much with it, but you see how it burned my arm, you know, that flash burn. It's like a real bad sunburn. So it's a flash. It's a flash that'll it'll burn you. So either have you some long sleeves on, or get you some welding sleeves to cover your arms up, or welding jacket. And sometimes I just get in a hurry and I don't pay no attention. And I had this one on yesterday because I was messing with the grinder. If I wouldn't have messed with that grinder, I probably wouldn't even had this one on. But put something on your arms if you're going to be doing a lot of welding up close, because it's like a bad sunburn. It'll get you. It don't take much. I remember I was welding with some goggles when I was young. I was up there at that building back in the day, and a cousin of mine come up there. He had something going on, broke on his car, and I had a little old rink-dink war welder, and I had some goggles that go across your eyes, just not the big goggles, but the little goggles that go across your eyes. And he came up there, and I was doing body work on something else. Like I said, I was young. It's been a long time ago, decades ago. And I welded on that piece, playing with it, had my face right there at it, playing with it. And the next day, that son of a gun had it had weld burnt my whole face. Only thing was protected was my eyes around where them goggles around my eye looked like a raccoon. And it was aggravating. I've been blinded by it when I was young too, you know, with the welding and just not having the right gear on your face and or cutting with a plasma cutter or something like that, and you don't really tell it right then while you're doing it. It don't really bother you, but it don't take long. You realize you made a mistake. You start feeling all that sand grit in your eyes, and you get weld flash, and it ain't no joke. You don't do it but once or twice, and you remember from then on. You don't play around with that kind of stuff. I thought I was going to go blind the first time it happened. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was staying at home with my mom and daddy, and I felt something in my eyes. I didn't know what it was. I'd been, like I said, I was probably 17, 18 years old, and I had been messing with a welder that day, and I woke up and I felt something in my eyes, felt like sand, and I got up and it was dark and I couldn't open my eyes and couldn't see. And that was the first time it ever happened. I thought I was blind forever. I said, "Oh Lord, let me get where I can see again. I won't do it no more." Yeah, I won't do it no more. But it happened again years on down the road. I messed around and a plasma cutter got me again. And what I'm going to do here is I'm probably going to have to go get me some cheap bolts. And when I say cheap bolts, I mean these bolts here I got here, the only ones I got and got enough to do it with, they're finished bolts. They're stainless steel. And I don't want to get them hot and tacking them nuts on there and mess up my bolts. What's probably going to happen is I'm going to move on to the next one, and I'm going to leave the tacking the nuts for a different day, because I would have to go all the way to town to get some bolts And it's gonna definitely cause my bolts a problem. And I got a little bit too far up on the thread with that one there, so that's something you don't want to do. You see what just happened? So when you're welding them nuts, you don't want to get up on your thread and cause it to snap your bolt. Like I just messed up that one. So I'm gonna have to cut that back off and try again. Down good. Yeah. So you don't need but just a tap. I mean, just barely just tap it. You don't want to try to hold it like you're going to, and I see what's happening right there. Because what you're getting is you're getting that popcorn off of that weld that's getting on your nut on your bolt. And when you get that popcorn off of that weld on that bolt's not going to come back through there when you get that on the thread. So you're going to have to clean it off of the thread if you get it on there, or you're going to have to take precautions not to get it on there, because that's what just snapped that bolt off right there. It got that popcorn on the thread, and I twisted it, and it was warm. The bolt was warm, trying to make it come through there, and it snapped the bolt. So you don't want to do that. We can't get that speck on the thread because it's going to interfere with it coming back out. What I got here is I got a wire wheel. I got a wire wheel here, and normally I wouldn't even attempt to back them back out while they were still warm. But what I wanted to see was I gonna be able to make it go in there and hold and tack it up with my stainless steel bolts and get them back out without discoloring the head on my bolt. And that's why I went ahead and tried to back it out to see what was going on. But normally I would just go down through there and tack them all, and by the time I get back to them, they're cooled down. So, but I was doing a little test here, and I want to see if I was going to be able to use my bolts, or I need to quit on this, or I need to go to town and get me some cheap bolts and put in there and take them out and throw them away and use my good bolts for finish. And I can see right now that that's in it. Otherwise, it's not going to move. That's going to be part of the problem. I see what I'm going to need to do is what I'm going to need to do is not let that bolt come out of the back side. So I either need to get me some shorter bolts and put a washer on it where it just does go in there and flush up with the end of that nut. That way I don't have to worry about getting that weld on my extended part of the bolt that's sticking out there, that flash spot weld. Any kind of popcorn off of that weld, spatter. I don't have to worry about it getting on my thread. So I need to get a shorter bolt. I need to put a washers on it or whatever I need to do. I need it to come out flush with the end of my nut, not stick out. And then you don't have to worry about that. You won't have to worry about cleaning nothing off. You just screw it in, screw it right back out. No spatter got in the end of your nut, none got on the end of your bolt, and it's a quick deal. So if you start to have a problem, figure out to start with what's causing the problem and go ahead and eliminate it from causing the problem all the way down. And for, 2 columns, figure out what the problem is, what the solution needs to be where you ain't going to have that problem, and then you can be productive. Because if you ain't being productive, you might as well just go on in the house. You might as well go to sleep, sit down, take a nap. You get more done. to square one. And we want to figure out if what we think will work will actually work. So I need to get some washers. We'll go ahead and sacrifice another one of these stainless steel bolts here. Let me go find some washers. Boy, I don't know if I'm putting that on there. That'll be lighting my window to do it. So if I put another nut on here, I just want that bolt to go through. Far enough so I can put me a nut on it, and the nut comes up flush in here, just like that. So no spatter can get in there inside of my, if I leave it too short, spatter could potentially get inside my thread and still cause a problem. So I want it just flush enough there where it can't get no spatter inside the nut or on the bolt head itself. So if I take me a nut, 2 nuts, so I can run it in where I want it, and then I can snug that second nut up like that to hold it stiff in there. So right now I got a bolt, I got a jam nut, and I got my nut so I can set it where I want it, which is flush at the end. So we're going to hit that again one time, and it seems to be not grounding good. It's a little damp out here, so I'm gonna move the ground off of this table, and I'm gonna put it on my actual piece. And then we're gonna pop it one more time, and we're gonna verify that process will work like I want it to work, fast. And when I do, we'll get us. Well, we might just use a couple of them bolts there. We don't have to put them all in at the same time. It's faster if you put them in and weld them all at the same time, but it's also, by the time I go to town and come back, I could have probably had them done. Turn down. We're going to try it one more time. And maybe we weld one side at a time. Maybe that'll work. So we may be getting the bolt too hot, hitting both sides at one time with it being that small of a spot. So maybe we'll tack one side, we'll let it cool, and we may come out and hit another side. Or maybe we'll just tack one side good. Maybe we'll leave it like that. So we don't need a whole lot, but at the same time, I don't want to get putting it together or taking it apart and find out that my nut is twisted on the back side. So if I probably won't never have to get it back apart. I might. You see how easy that came off there? We turn the welder down, and we only hit one side, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for easy in and easy out. We don't want a bunch of restriction on it. We just want it to come, that nut got tight there on there. We just want it to come easy in, just like that, and easy out. So I think that's what we're looking for. We may just tack one side instead of 2 sides, or we may tack one side and let it cool a bit, and then come back and hit the other side on the way back down. So there's always a technique that works better. It don't matter what you're doing. There's going to be a technique that works a little bit better than something else. So find out what the best technique is for whatever it is you're doing, and be consistent with it all the way. That's what I try to do anyway, because I do so much stuff and I do it by myself. I don't have time to be doing a bunch of stuff the hard way. I got to find out the easy way to do it, and that's the way I got to do it. And once I learn the way I want to do it, I'm gonna do it that way every time, every time, every time. It don't matter if I do it 5 times or 5,000 times, I'm gonna do it the same way. So I think that's what we're looking for. We don't want the heat so hot that it's distorting it, and we don't want the bolt sticking through that we're getting spatter on it inside the nut or outside the bolt. We don't want too much heat to it at one time. We just want it to hold there where you don't need a wrench to tighten it up. So, and if you're going to wait till it's cooled off when you come back on the other side, it'd probably be a good idea to put the bolt back in there. Make sure it's snug. That way the bolt don't get, you know, kind of tilted at an angle a little bit and cause you problems trying to thread it back up. All right. See how quick that was? Once you get your strategy figured out, what's gonna work, what ain't gonna work, then you can bam, 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 and just go right on down through there. So you wouldn't want it to start out not testing nothing. Just put your mess in there and go through there and hit them, and then get down there at the other end and come back and start to take them out, and then realize you got a problem and you done messed up 17 holes. So it's better to mess up 1 or 2 holes, figure out what works, what don't work, and then get you a strategy, and then you can walk right through it just that fast. So what we're going to do, we're going to let them cool for a second. We're going to take them back out. We're going to do the other side. While we're waiting on them to cool, we're missing 1, 2, 3. So we'll make us up 3 more nuts and go ahead and stick them in here while they're cooling. I'm going to take these gloves off because it's hard to do it with them on. And if you, and we didn't end up going back getting any new bolts. We're just going to use our same bolts here, and we put the jam nut on it to shorten it up. It's not doing any kind of damage to the finished product on the bolt. And we're good. And that's all there is to doing anything. You figure out what works and what don't work. You get you a strategy. And be consistent. If you ain't being productive, you can go back in the house and go to sleep. And at least you will get some rest. That's one thing I always hated. If I'm outside and I'm working on something, and it don't matter if it needs to be done. If I'm working on it and I feel like I ain't being productive and I'm working against myself and I can't get it down to where I can be productive, I stop. I don't keep going all day like that. I stop. I'll go do something I can be productive on. And when I figure out a better way to do it, I'll come back and do it in a productive way. But in no time do I stand there and just waste my time all day just trying to get something done. If I ain't got the right tool to do it, I got to stop and go get the right tool. Made a little short video yesterday about a shovel. I own a lot of tools, all kind of tools, hand tools, trucks, equipment, any kind of tool you need to do just about anything that I do. I got the tool to do it. But that shovel is the worst tool I got. I hate it. Every time I pick it up and have to use it for a long period of time, I feel like I'm just wasting my time. It's just a waste of talent. So don't ever get yourself in a situation where you got to use a hand shovel all day long. The only thing it's going to do is make you old and tired. That's it. You can't make a lot of money with a shovel. You can, I ain't figured it out yet. Want to make sure these things are tightened up and they're going to hold, because once you paint it, you can't just go back and start welding on it. If you do, you're going to melt your paint, you're going to mess up your finished product. So you make sure they're tight good enough to do what you want them to do before you do any painting on it. Because once you paint on it, that's it. Unless you want to repaint the whole thing, there's no way going back and touching nothing up. And I let her, film that mistake over there when I was having a problem with the bolts and the nuts not wanting to come out, tack welding them up, just so you could see. Not everybody does everything all the time and it comes out perfect the first time. Everybody has problems every once in a while. If you do the same thing over and over and over and over every day, you're not going to hardly have a lot of problems. Certain people, now I know some people that would do the same thing every day and still have problems. It don't matter. I know a couple like that. But most people, that's going to be doing something the same day, every day, they get good at it. It's consistent. They're not going to have the same problem. But every once in a while, even people that are skilled, they're going to run into something, that they need to figure out a better way to do it. It ain't that they don't know how to do it or that they're not going to do it. It's just they're going to figure out a better way to do it. And they're going to figure out what works and what don't work. And, sometimes when people's filming stuff or whatever on TV, you don't see a whole lot of mistakes. You only see everything going perfect. Everything is smooth, and but they make mistakes too. So anybody that's got a lot of skills in any trade, whatever they're doing, if they're real skilled at it and they're good at it, they made a lot of mistakes before to get that good at it. They didn't just wake up one day and they were super good at it. They worked at it until they got to a point where they made very little mistakes, or they make very little mistakes. But at some point, they made several mistakes. But you'll never see it because a lot of them will never show it to you. But me, I've done so much work that it don't really matter to me. I've made a few mistakes. As a matter of fact, I've made a whole lot of mistakes over the years, decades. But I try not to make the same mistake twice. If I make a mistake, I learn from it. I figure out how to fix it, and I figure out how not never let that happen again. And if you do that long enough, you'll eventually get some skills where you know how to do stuff without making a whole lot of mistakes. But, all right, so we're consistent. I'm consistent. Every time I do something, I like to do it the same way. So when I welded the nuts a while ago, I welded it from right to left. And I welded it on this side where I could see. So I'm gonna do this the same way. I'm not gonna come here and change my pattern and go down there and start trying to weld upside down. I'm gonna turn my plate back similar to what I had it a while ago, and I'm gonna do it the same way. Now I got my plate turned over. I got my bolts on the bottom, on the back side. I've already done this one time before. I'm comfortable with the welder going this way. So I'm gonna do it the exact same way. Get your pattern, stick with your pattern. Don't keep switching up. All different kind of ways. All right, that's it. That's how quick it is. It'll take 2 or 3, 4 minutes at the most. I don't know what it took, but I know it was pretty quick. And that's what I like. I like it quick. But I'm not going to do it quick if it ain't going to be right. I'll do it quick if I can get it right. Right, so we let them cool off a second. You want to take them out. And you can tell if you got one that's got a problem to it because it'll be resistant coming out. These things have got jam nuts on them. You got to make sure the jam nut is loose, not just the top nut. And once you got the top nut off, you should be able to unscrew them with your fingers. No problem. That's what you want. You want to be able to unscrew them with your fingers. That means you don't have any issues going on with threads. And screw them back in with your fingers. And if you got one little bit of spatter on that bolt sticking out, it's not going to come back out with your finger. And 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to break it trying to force it out with a ratchet. So that's what we want. We got all 34 back caps tacked on, holes drilled in the exact spot. That's what I'm looking for. So now we can move on to the next one. We didn't damage our bolts. We didn't stop and go 20 miles to town to get new bolts. So we actually saved probably, I don't know, what's it called? You take 30 minutes to go to town, 30 minutes to get back, an hour, depending on what you count your time worth, plus the cost of the bolt and the cost of gas. So we saved all that just by coming up with a little plan and sticking to it and getting it done right here. So we eliminated the need for all that extra stuff.